It was 4 years, 4 long years ago, that 10 leaders gathered together to create a league of champions that would forever change these games into something more serious. It was on this first night, at the first draft, that the BDL was born.
Back in the day, the league was split into 2 divisions, the Potheads and the Drunks. The playoffs were only 2 weeks long total. My oh my, how time changes things. It was in this first year that our faithful commissioner won the first ever BDL title, while pulling off one of the most impressive win streaks the BDL has ever seen, riding off wins in his first 11 games before tying and losing the next 2. Who blemished the commissioner's win streak? Well, none other than the Shady Dealers, of course, with a disgusting 56-56 tie. What makes it more disgusting is that the Shady Dealers didn't win a game after Week 5 that season, only managed 2 ties throughout the remainder of the season, finishing 3-9. Wait a minute. Buck my life. It was also in this first season that Dennis set the high mark on scoring, a mark that still stands today at 160 points, thanks to a couple of monster performances, including a stout outing by a kicker. Those are the highs and the lows of 2009. And I would be ashamed of myself if I forgot to mention, Henry did draft Matt Ryan with his first pick, 8th overall. Going into 2010, year 2, there were some owner changes. Bye-week Phil, Just the Tip Dennis, Basket Bastard Patrick, and the High Flyers shipped out, while Harv and his British Bulldogs, the Mutant Squirrels, Hardman Sr., and Scratchy McRedface joined in. Year 2 was the birth of the United Division, We Are All Balls Deep, and the continuation of single-week playoff matchups. Probably the biggest headline to speak of in the 2010 season was a record set. A record set so epically that I am certain it will never be broken. In year 2, on the 5th week, Sir Aaron Koski managed to put up an astounding 29 points. As you can tell, it really was a team effort. But with turmoil comes personal growth. And I would say it did Mr. Koski well, because he dealt with the middle of the season drought to finish the season strong. Yours truly bounced back, winning more than double the amount of games from year 1. You know what that means? There has to be a new cellar dweller in the league. Hardman Jr. took my place in style. He took a hit from year 1 and finished the year 3-11 in 10th place. But spoiler alert, he wasn't phased. The defending champ, the Commish, made it back to the playoffs in 2010, but fell short in a disappointing loss to the Nugabots in the first round. 2010 was also the birth of another story that will continue throughout the program. The story of Gary and the playoffs. He made the playoffs in 2010 despite losing 4 of his last 6 games, but still fell short in round 1 loss. I mentioned Koski finished strong. Here's the proof. He won his last 6 games of the season, including the playoffs and championship, and did it by an average of 25 points a game. Vicious and nice run, sir. In year 3, 2011, the BDL played manager hot potato again. The Mutant Squirrels, the Unusual Suspects, and Scratchy McRedface all packed their bags and said goodbye, while Mason and Ringfinger Ray unpacked their bags, and after a year off, Dennis rejoined the BDL. Year 3 marked the first year where playoff matchups persisted over a 2-week period, where points were added up from both weeks. The season started in fashion and unusual BDL style, with Hardman Sr. selecting Jason Witten in the 3rd round, the 23rd overall pick, Wow. Remember how much shit we gave him and how shitty everyone thought his team was? Well, it wasn't that shitty, as Hardman Sr. finished the regular season in first place with a record tied with the Commish. 2011 was actually the tightest season the BDL has seen to date, where first place and last place were only separated by 4 games. Gary began his shenanigans with player acquisitions in 2011. He finished the season with just 5 or 6 players that he drafted. Marked the beginning of his reign as Lord of the Wire, which ended up playing out well for G-Spot as he put together one hell of a run at the end of the year. That is, until he ran into the Commish week 1 of the playoffs. The Commish had a solid run in the middle of the season, whipping off 6 wins in a row to help him finish in a playoff spot. 2011 saw a playoff version in the form of the Shady Dealers. It was a heartbreaker for the Dealers, losing the newly 2-week playoff matchup by 1 point to Steven Jackson in trash time on Monday Night Football. It doesn't get much worse than that, folks. Oh wait, patience, friends. Patience. The championship was a matchup between Hardman Sr., the winner of the regular season, versus the championship experienced commissioner. Tom ran away with the title, winning over the course of 2 weeks by 34. As you can see, he got a solid 2 weeks out of Megatron and Cam Newton. While Hardman Sr., well, Hardman had Aaron Rodgers. As for his prodigy draft pick, he kind of shit on him in crunch time. The offseason before 2012 was the quietest to date. Only one owner position was changed, with La Flama Blanca exiting the league and giving ownership over to the Pinball Wizard. Well, maybe I spoke too soon about the quietest to date offseason, because there was something big that happened. Ringfinger Ray introduced the league to the Great Chasm, the hardware that every BDL member salivates over. Something was different from the beginning of Year 4. Henry drafted a team that the league said to be the favorite. The minds were right about 2012. It is the end of the world. This guy did so much research and improvement over the offseason, it's insane. And hell, he even gave yours truly some advice that some of you are still pissed off about. A particular running back goes by the name of Muscle Hamster. Speaking of the hamster, in Year 4, Doug put up a BDL high score for a player in a game with 51 points. Henry, I love you. It was on the shoulders of the hamster and waiver wire Alfred Morris that the Shady Dealers rode to the finish of the season with their best record yet at 9-3, while scoring the highest per game in BDL history. While the Dealers were doing it loudly, another team was doing it quietly and bullshittingly. Didn't finish the regular season in second place, despite having a ragtag poo ball team. He won games scoring 63, 57, and hell, he only scored 100 3 times all year. Hardman Jr. rode the roller coaster all season, winning a couple here, losing a couple there, but finished the season at 7-5 and grabbing the 3rd playoff spot. And, of course, our longtime story Gary snuck in as well, eking out Mr. 500 just barely for that last spot. I think something happened near the end of the year, too. Something about a stat correction fucking up someone's season. I don't know. Somebody call Mason on this one? First round of the playoffs for the Shady Dealers was a breeze, being the highest scoring team in the league history, taking on a team of nobody fill-ins. Wait. No, it wasn't. The Shady Dealers lost by 1 point. Over 2 weeks. On Monday night. This should be a typo, but it's not. The Dealers really did lose like that 2 years running. I told you. Patience. This was Gary's only playoff success, if you can call that lucky bourgeois success. But who am I to talk with my 0 playoff wins? Hardman Jr. spruced himself up and injected steroids into the ass of every player on his roster before his playoff deflowering. And I'll tell you, it worked. Hardman Jr. and his Friar Tucks came out blazing in the playoffs, scoring 261 points over the first 2 weeks, dominating Dennis by nearly 100 points. The championship? Well, equally embarrassing for Henry's opponent. G-Spot found himself down 40 points after week 1 was said and done, which pretty much wrapped it up with the Tucks firing on all cylinders. Week 2 was a technicality, and the BDL crowned its third different champion in 4 years. Congrats, Henry. You deserved and earned that one. Well, gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed our stroll down memory lane. And for those of you that have joined the league after its first season, I hope you gained some insight and feel more a part of and connected to the league. This is Shady. May the work shifts be swift and the party times plentiful.